Hey gang, Eric here, and welcome to this week's Wednesday Wisdom. It's hard to believe that Good Friday is in a couple of days, and then Easter, for me as a man of faith, one of the greatest times of our spiritual calendar. Jesus, he's resurrected, and the tomb did not keep him down. That's what we celebrate for Easter. And so, as we're finishing up our Lenten season, I've been thinking about that concept, that the concept of Good Friday. For us, it's good. For Jesus, it wasn't so good. But on that Sunday, this upcoming Sunday, what we celebrate is Easter. That's the great news for us because it shows to us and to the world that the tomb didn't keep Jesus down, that he rose again, and he sits at the right hand of God the Father. But what I was thinking through was how, when Jesus died, it truly was a small core of what we would call Christians. It was a small core of people that were believing, that had the faith at that time. And then I fast forward now to over 2,000 years since his death, and now we have millions and millions and millions of people professing faith in Jesus Christ. And so I've been thinking about how we went from here to there, and how do we do that? And then it started me asking the question, what am I speaking over myself? What are you speaking over yourself? You may be asking yourself, Eric, where are you getting with this? What I'm asking is, what are you saying about yourself? Are you saying that I will be doing this good thing in 3 years, 5 years? That I will accomplish this goal this year? Are you saying those things over yourself? Or are you speaking bad oaths over yourself, saying, well, if I get to it, if I have time, I might do this, I might do that. Or I know I can't do it. Or I'll just never be able to. Are you speaking those bad oaths? What are you speaking over into yourself? Because I believe that it starts with small things. I believe even the greatest thing, even just the Christian faith, though it's a great thing now, it started small. You know, we look at Steve Jobs and Apple's, or Bill Gates, or whoever we might want to look at, Mark Cuban, or just maybe well-to-do people in our society. If we can trace back, they have these good things. They have a lot of things now. It's big now, but we can trace all the way back to their beginning, and it was small. You know, IBM started out in his garage. You know, and there's so many people, so many companies we can look at. They're large now, but we can trace it back, and they started small. But they weren't speaking over themselves, well, we're not going to make it, or we're always going to be here in this garage. No, they were speaking things like, we're going to have this big office. We're going to be IBM. We're going to be Apple. We're going to be one of the biggest things around in technology. They were speaking those things, but it started small. And I want to read a parable that Jesus says about this to tie into how something small can turn into something big. So your life right now, it may be small here, but I want to encourage you today how we can look at it from this small thing and speak life into how it's going to be something great later on. So I'll be reading here in Matthew 13, verses 31 and 32. And this is what we call the parable of the mustard seed. And he, being Jesus, because Jesus presented another parable to them. And he said, the kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed, which a man took and sowed in his field. And this is smaller than all other seeds, But when it is full grown, it is larger than the garden plants and becomes a tree, so that the birds of the air come and nest in its branches. So Jesus is saying this mustard seed, though it's a really, really, really small seed, it can produce a mustard tree, which they called it a tree, though it's really more of a big bush, a big shrub. But they called it a tree because it would get up to 10 feet tall. That's a pretty large tree. And it was very just like bushy, very big. And so the birds of the air would use it as their nest because it was a firm foundation. It was big, it was sturdy. But it started off really, really small. And so Jesus here, he's saying, hey guys, he was kind of telling this to his people. He's saying, hey guys, we're small now. But the Christian faith, people believing in me, Jesus, it's going to turn into something really big later on. And kind of so much so that people are going to land in it. People are going to land the plane. They're going to say, land the plane. Like believe in me, believe in Jesus. And people will be believing and perching in the tree of Jesus, if we want to call it that. But it starts off small. And I think that it starts off small to remind us of our humble beginnings. You know, it takes me back to when Jesus was born. And he wasn't born in some nice Ritz-Carlton hotel or in some king or princess house. He was born in a stable. You know, he was born around animals. He was born in really the lowest of low, dark, dungiest, dirtiest of places. That's where Jesus was born. But it reminds us of his humble beginnings. Because Jesus, he was a humble baby, but the great thing is now he sits on the right hand of God, our Father. So something small to something really big. And so maybe you've moved along, you've had your small beginnings, and maybe you were doing really well, and maybe you just plateaued. Or maybe you've went back. Maybe it's crashed. Maybe you're looking at this today and you're going, you know, I'm in my deepest, darkest hour right now. I'm at the worst place maybe I've been in my life right now. I want to encourage you, maybe there's some humility. Maybe there's something that Jesus is trying to teach you, show you. Maybe you were going up and you were forgetting where you came from. Maybe you were going up and you forgot about who helped you get there. Maybe you were going up and you started pushing people that were the janitors or the people below you. You were just kind of pushing them off and you wouldn't talk to them. They're not good enough for you. And I think sometimes we might get pushed back a little bit so that it reminds us not only of our humble beginnings, but it reminds us that we have to help others. You know, Jesus was not born in this grandiose place. No, he was born in a manger with animals all around him, in a dirty place. And though as he progressed up in his ministry and he's feeding 5,000 with 2 McDonald's lunches, and he turns water into wine, and he heals, he brings Lazarus back from the dead. I mean, he does all these miraculous miracles. He's just rising. Think about it. He was a rock star back in his day. Thousands of people would just flock to find and to see and to hear Jesus. But yet he always could remember his humble beginnings, and he was always trying to add value to others. He was thinking about helping others, no matter who they were. It didn't matter if it was the prostitute who came in while he was leaning back having dinner with the religious leaders, and this prostitute comes in and she just simply starts washing his feet with her tears, and with her oil and her perfume, and her fragrance is just everywhere. And she's weeping, she's crying, she's washing his feet, she's kissing his feet. It didn't bother him, though it bothered the religious leaders. They were like, Jesus, if you only knew who this woman was, You wouldn't let her be touching you. But Jesus knew who she was. And it didn't matter. Why? Because he was going to be adding value to her. He was finding a way to help her. And he remembered his humble beginnings. And so maybe you're out there today and maybe you're at that humble beginning still. But you want to get to something great. My encouragement is keep your humble beginnings and always be adding value to all that you encounter along the way. But I want to just shift gears just a little bit. Because I want to challenge us as we're wrapping up now this Lenten season, that the kingdom of God, it started off with just 12 disciples and Jesus and some of the close family. It started off small, but it's now become something amazing and great and large. But God's kingdom, the growth, it's influenced by you. It's influenced by me. It's influenced by us. See, the growth of God's kingdom, yes, it starts off small, but it's influenced because of us. And we don't know the saints that we will be encountering daily, weekly, monthly. And we don't know how our response, our words, our actions towards and around them, that they may go and change thousands of people's lives because of one thing, one action, one word, or just simply being a friend to that one person. And because of that, their heart was transformed. Jesus transformed their heart because of what you were doing. And then they go and share it with thousands of people. You may not be the Billy Graham. You may not be the one that's speaking to thousands, but you may be the one that's speaking to that Billy Graham. That one person that's going to end up speaking to thousands of people. And it starts off small. And so I want to encourage you, you never know the saints that you will be encountering daily or weekly, monthly, yearly. And maybe it's that person that you're supposed to pour into and to be Jesus to. Right now, they may be your enemy. Right now, you may not like them. But Jesus says, just love them. Show them grace. Be me to them. Because you never know the small beginnings, how it can turn into something great. And I want to encourage you with that. And I want to challenge you that maybe you've gotten off path. Maybe you've been going up. But you've gotten off path and you haven't been helping others. And you haven't been adding value. You've lost pace. You've lost where you came from. You've lost your humility. So I want to challenge you. Just ask God, say, God, help me with being more humble. Let me remember where I came from. And then help me help others. If we want to start with something small, it's amazing because it can lead us to something really big. And the kingdom of God is just like that. It starts off small, but it can turn into something really, really big. And so, as we're finishing up this Lenten season and Easter's almost here, when Easter happened over 2,000 years ago, the Christian faith was small. But because of a few men and a few women and a few kids, the kingdom of God grew. And it keeps growing today. And I want to encourage you guys, you men, you women, you students, you guys can keep growing the kingdom. Why? Because it's influenced on you. It's influenced because of me. It's influenced because of all of us. That's pretty cool. That's pretty amazing. We can keep growing this. It may be small, may look small now, but it can keep getting bigger. In our community, in our houses, in our states, in our country, we can keep growing it. That's what Jesus wanted us to do when he rose from the dead on Easter over 2,000 years ago. He was saying then, we'll start off small, but it's going to get really big. As always, if you want to pass these videos along, share them, email them, share them on Facebook, however you want to do that. Always, you can go to my website, ericjchristian.com, for more information. And guys, I hope you have an amazing Easter coming up. And just don't forget that what Jesus started with a few people, you can start with a few people yourself and grow it into something big. You can start with your family, you can start with you. But we can start off small and grow it into something big. Until next week, I hope you have a great Easter and a great week. See you guys then.